Welcome to Here to Uplift. This is where we uplift our community by sharing the real stories and wisdom of entrepreneurs, changemakers, and innovators. No fluff, just the good, bad, and ugly of their journeys. It's a new season, and we are breaking bread in a segment I call Let's Taco Bout It, highlighting the food and culture of Silicon Valley. So you might get a little hungry. Your support means everything. So if you enjoy this episode, learn something new, or feel inspired, please share it with a friend or that entrepreneur who needs a boost. Now, let's get into it.
Welcome to La Mascarita. My name is Marco Hernandez, one of the owners of this beautiful place. And please come and check it out. You guys are gonna love it, trust me. We have a great show, have a great food, and we try as much as we can, and you guys have a wonderful experience. Please come in, don't be regret.
Hi guys, how are you? My name is Rolando Campos, El de Bigotes. Whenever you have a chance, come and check it out. We have a lot of stuff that you're gonna enjoy. Food, show, drinks, and me. You know, that's it. But so whenever you guys want to come, La Mascarita, 1632 Story Road, come and visit.
Welcome to the Here to Uplift podcast, because I didn't quite say that. We've just been running into this, but I'm super excited to have you on because this was something I wanted to get you on for a long time. And I just feel like this series is the most perfect way because let's talk about it. And you're going to be wrapping up this series.
Okay.
Like the whole idea of it is, yes, we're telling our stories as entrepreneurs and like, how did you make it? How did you get to this place of success? Even if you don't necessarily deem it as your top, you know, a lot of folks are still working to get here. But the beauty of this is that we get to share culture along the way. So yes, we're eating, we get to enjoy the conversation, and y'all get to kind of tune into a genuine conversation with us. But to center, like you said, small business owners right here in our community is really the point of this, because Silicon Valley culture is so much more than tech.
Yeah.
There's a lot of little hubs, like you're noting, the story of Story and King.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't know that before moving here. I'm a transplant, but the more I know and learn, the more I fall in love with this place.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, San Jose welcomes you too. You know, we always welcome everyone to come embrace the culture of San Jose.
I do feel that. I feel welcome here, and I felt welcome right away. Maybe because I had a personal escort, but to guide me and show me the way. Thanks, Anthony. And he introduced me to you. So, BQ, I'm happy to have you here, but do you want to tell the folks who you are?
Yeah. First and foremost, honored to be here. Thank you for inviting me on the show. It's always love to be a part of these different creative ideas when it comes to storytelling. So
as the creator
super
himself.
Honored to be here. But yeah, you know, Brandon Quintanilla, everyone calls him BQ for short. I'm the founder of EMLN Exclusive, creative agency that specializes in event production, media production, and business development. That's my new sales pitch, as you can know.
I like it.
You know, we started Culture Night Market in 2020. Done events all throughout San Jose, from PayPal Park, Eastridge Center, Oak Ridge, Westfield parking lot, PayPal Park, I think I said that already. Downtown San Jose, SOFA. We partnered with San Jose Jazz, J. Paul, West Bank, Downtown Association. We've worked with so many different entities, the county, the city of San Jose. Super honored to be in this position to help create experiences that bring people together. I think that's been the most fulfilling part of doing what I do is we create experiences and we meet new people. We bring teachers and, you know, football coaches, people that run businesses, people that are within the church, all coming together at our events, just like interacting. Like that's always been something I'm very like passionate about and I enjoy doing with our events. And obviously I have a media background too. We do podcasts and have a studio in downtown San Jose on 300 South First Street. So if you ever need a spot to do some media, tap in. And yeah, you know, just San Jose and at the end of the day. So
were you working like in the media space before, running all your entrepreneurial ventures, or was it completely different where you're working before?
It's funny. It actually starts with this guy Anthony right here, because I'll bring him up because I remember in 2015, I was already doing entrepreneurship, selling clothing. I was buying urban fashion at wholesale. I was doing consignment. First, it was consignment. I was getting it for free and selling it for a commission.
Right.
That was my easy way of starting business without any overhead.
Yeah.
So I started doing that for a year, made enough money to buy wholesale, started buying wholesale from people, and then flipping it at the flea markets and pop-ups. I was doing pop-ups before pop-ups were even a thing. I'm going to just say that. 2016 time period, motherfuckers weren't really doing pop-ups like that. Now they are. Much respect to y'all, but we were the first ones, at least around here. I remember talking to Anthony because I viewed Anthony as one of my mentors, always came to him for advice and get some direction when I was kind of trying to figure things out, because I knew he was one of the few people I knew that was very ambitious and trying to do a business. So I picked his brain, and one of the things he taught me First, he gave me Gary Vee's book. I'll never forget it. He gave me Gary Vee's book. He said, read this guy. He showed me a couple of videos before Gary Vee was even popular. And it was really like kind of annoying at first because like, bro, his voice is hella annoying. And I couldn't wrap around my head and like what he's trying to preach. But then once I bypassed the noise and shit and I was actually paying attention to what he's talking about, I realized content is king. Content is the way to go. So then I already had like this self-confidence where I was not afraid to just do things. So I was already just hitting the ground running with content. I had just got an investment from a friend who gave me $2,000 to like allocate, and in return I was gonna give him interest. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna buy Focusrite, I'm gonna buy microphones, I'm gonna buy the set for a podcast. Right. So in 2016 I started my first podcast, and I did it in my best friend's garage in South San Jose.
I had no idea you started that early.
Yeah, we were doing if you go on my YouTube channel, I probably have like over 100 interviews with artists, business owners, people in the community. So my journey started really early on, to answer your question. But I never really knew what the target was. I just knew I wanted to be in that space.
Okay.
Like I knew I wanted to do things around this area.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what entrepreneurship is. You just kind of do things and you figure it out along the way.
Because we're talking about culture already. So I feel like when Anthony was first trying to convince me to move here, I had a singular picture of what the Bay Area was.
Yeah.
And then I equated that to Silicon Valley, and then I equated city. And I didn't even realize how beautiful San Jose was. I guess because you've grown up here and you've seen such a span, and now you literally cultivate and coordinate the culture events that are happening here. How would you describe the Silicon Valley? And what do you think people outside of the Bay Area don't know about it?
Well, the impression obviously with Silicon Valley is that it's a tech mecca. Everything is technological. Everything is like AI connected. With reality, it's a major metropolitan city. But it's rich in culture as far as diversity. So many different ethnicities, so many different backgrounds, and different types of people are in this area growing up amongst each other from kids. So like, you know, some of my friends growing up were Vietnamese and Polynesian and Nigerian and Central American and Mexican, and we're all growing up with each other and learning about each other's culture. Yeah. So like, you know, a lot of us have more similarities than differences. You know, we all respected our parents. We all knew hard work and dedication. We all knew values, and
a lot of
and we all had the same obstacles too, like, you know, gang culture and you know, low income housing, and just the environment that is created in those circumstances. Like we all grew up in it. So I feel like culturally, there's so much to offer, but a lot of people have an impression of, you know, through Silicon Valley. So I think Silicon Valley is good in the sense of like what attention it brings to the city and what economics come with that. But as far as like representation, I feel like sometimes we get forgotten, or certain things get you know,
bypassed.
Don't get acknowledged, bypassed. You know, for example, the San Jose is not part of the Bay Area discussion. Like some people take that personal.
How is that even possible?
Well, this is how they view it. They view it as a cultural thing where it's like you got Oakland and San Francisco, which dominate the Bay Area culturally as far as like what they offer in the grand scheme. But I mean, let's not get it confused with no Tracks a Million from Seven Trees. There would be no hyphy movement. So it's like there's a lot of things that San Jose contributed to the culture, but some people get really personal with that conversation. I kind of don't get into that topic no more because it doesn't serve anyone at the end of the day. Okay. It's really just like a hot topic to just talk about and rant about.
I haven't been part of those conversations yet.
Well, to be honest, that's good. You know what I mean? Those are very low vibrant conversations. Low frequency. But to answer your question though, Silicon Valley is the tech, you know what I'm saying, impression that people have, and what San Jose really is that it's an abundant cultural phenomenon. Like that's what I would say. And
I like that.
And it's expensive.
Yeah,
and it's expensive.
Well, you know, it's interesting because although most folks think of it as Silicon Valley anyway, as a tech hub, of which San Jose is part of, what I've found it to be is an entrepreneurial hub, because I noticed even if you're not in tech or the startup world, there's a lot of folks, if you're from here, who go the entrepreneurial venture. And then most of the people who actually like work in tech are not from here. They're transplants who are kind of like that security of the 9 to 5. They're not the ones starting the companies, they're the ones in them.
Yep.
And I find that so interesting. So it's like, yes, tech is huge. The startup culture is very much San Jose, Silicon Valley, but the startup isn't just in tech. It's entrepreneurial in general. And that's why so many of my friends are entrepreneurs. I'm like, natural when you live here.
Yeah,
like there's so many
it's
people
very
who
true.
like it that way.
I mean, before, more recent with COVID and stuff like that, like Silicon Valley was predominantly entrepreneurial, right? Startup based. And, you know, there's a lot of history with that too. Like, I was learning about this when I was applying for tech jobs. Like, they made us do these ridiculous things like little homework assignments to try to improve your chances of getting hired and stuff. I remember them asking you to do some type of like report on the history of whatever. And so I chose Silicon Valley, and I learned about how Stanford was one of the first places that really empowered their CEOs, and like Hewlett Packard and Drew's Ice Cream and all these different big companies kind of stem from that. Yeah. But one thing that Stanford did is that they actually empowered the people that graduated and started these big companies to stay locally, and they made it like a culture.
I did not know
They made it a culture, and then people started to be like, all right, let's build here, let's build these big companies here. And I feel like that stemmed into so many different areas, like hip hop. You look at hip hop, you know, Too Short, E40, one of the first people to start their own distribution, Larry June, Mozzie, Burner. They all started their business independently and grew their label. Obviously, some of that influence came from Master P in Texas and stuff, but a lot of the entrepreneurial spirit is deeply ingrained into this geography of San Jose, Silicon Valley, Bay Area. So there is a lot of truth to that. And some of it is leaving. You know, they talk about San Jose and like California. Some people are leaving the state, but there's still tons and tons of people that are either getting into it, getting things to a new level, or things that have been predominantly around for a while and they're still growing. So I agree with you on that sentiment for sure.
Okay, so you noted some music artists, so I'm just going to plug this because if anybody gets the opportunity to connect with this man, it'll be you. So I want LaRussell on the podcast.
Oh, hell yeah, that'd be dope.
If you ever connect with LaRussell, please connect me.
Yeah.
LaRussell, come on the podcast.
We need you more in San Jose. A lot of people love LaRussell. I'm a big fan of LaRussell.
We literally went to an earthquake game, and this is no shame to the earthquakes at all. Like, it was a fun game, but we went specifically because he was performing at the halftime.
Oh, nice.
And I was like, I just want to see LaRussell. Yeah. Like,
with Too Short, he missed the fab.
Exactly. So obviously the whole group was awesome, but I will say the audio quality was so poor. So I need to make it out to actually go to a LaRussell concert.
Yeah. He does those amazing backyard residency shows.
I love that.
Yeah, he already has
that in culture. Like,
he already has listings for the future shows too. So
and he just does it by the bids, which I think is so fascinating.
Yeah, I've had a few opportunities to talk to LaRussell about getting him out here, but fortunately we weren't able to, plug and play. But I think, this year coming up will be the year where we do it somehow, some way.
I'm like, if anybody's going to do it, it's going to
whether it's through an event, coming to Culture Night Market, perform for the community, coming to any given bars and giving us a couple verses, or just coming out here and just tapping in with the community. I feel like there's so much opportunity for him out here.
Absolutely.
As an artist,
Okay. Can you give me your entrepreneurial story? Because you already started from the beginning.
Yeah.
But, what first got you into the entrepreneurship?
Yeah.
What was the most exciting phase?
Yeah.
What's been like the biggest challenge or defeat that you've had?
Wow.
Those are kind of my three markers I want to hear about.
So I'm going to try to sum it up because I'm 30 now. So your boy's been in the game for 10 plus years now, believe it or not. My entrepreneurship journey started in 2014, starting at the flea market selling urban fashion, wholesale consignment, eventually transitioned from the pop-ups and went to SneakerCon.
Right.
And I started going to trade shows in like LA and Vegas, Arizona. I think it was like $1,200 to purchase a booth there. So automatically I was like, all right, my cost for my clothes, my expense to get there, I got to double it. So that was like my mentality.
It always had to do with like merchandise and products.
Products, accessories, stuff you see at urban stores like Fresh Society and stuff like that. Because I love streetwear fashion. I still do to this day. Like, I always rock it if I can. Even in the professional corporate environments, like, I'm going to wear what represents me. And at the end of the day, that's always been my style. So transitioning to that, I was a part-time entrepreneur where I was working full-time and then also doing it part-time. So I did that till 2020. But right before COVID, I was working at the kiosk at the malls. And then I transitioned to software sales where I was working remotely, where it actually permitted me to do a little bit more. And then COVID happened, and I quickly learned that a lot of people were starting their entrepreneurial journey. Like, I literally saw it in real time where people were like, I want to do a pop-up. I want to do vendor stuff. And I've been doing it for 7 years. So I knew firsthand on like what was missing. And what I meant by that was like, there's no marketplace for people to come, at least consistently. Yeah. Like, I knew of events in San Jose, but they were not consistent. Yeah. And when I mean consistent, I'm not talking about like once every other month or quarterly. I'm talking about like every weekend or every other weekend. So I met what's her name? Sunny. She's the owner of the parking lot in downtown San Jose. She's a Somali lady. She's like the community mom. She's super awesome. She was the first lady to give me an opportunity to do an event on her parking lot.
Okay.
So we worked the formula where I got her paid through every event because she was kind of struggling during a time where people weren't paying rent and stuff. They weren't even there. They were working remote. So that's where it all kicked off with the event stuff. The first year we only did 7 events.
Yeah.
The year after we bumped up to 45 events. Kind of sporadically.
Oh, that's a big jump.
Once we did that, then we started learning the process with permits, guidelines, and learning administrative logistics, like all the stuff that goes behind. Trial and error, just kind of learning along the way, literally. Fast forward to now, I run an agency now full time. We do event production, media production, business development, and we've worked with people all over San Jose and the county. And I mean, that was the short version.
Yeah,
I probably could give you way more details.
There's so much you've been through and done.
Your other question was like, what were some defining moments, or what was the other question?
So I like the high defining moment. Like well, you even said you didn't do entrepreneurship full time before. Yeah. So maybe like what was the defining moment when you said I'm going to do this full time?
Yeah.
And then also, what was your biggest challenge today?
So there's a couple of them, but I'll try to give them as fast as I can.
I'm like,
so the first one, like the first couple of years, when I was doing it in pop-ups, I dropped out of De Anza. I was going to school for 3 years, and I loved going to school there. I had a lot of opportunity, but I quickly realized over time that I don't want to do this. Like, I want to be an entrepreneur, and I want to dive in. So I was 19 to 20 years old when I decided that. And what did I do is at De Anza, it was one of the most administrated students all of California. I think it was like top 2. So they had like 50,000 students. Wow. A lot of people at that school, people going to Cupertino. So instead of me dropping out and disappearing, I saw vendors were selling on campus. So I said, let me like inquire and sell on campus. Yeah. Next thing you know, I found out it only cost $40 to set up. So I was like, let me go set up Tuesdays and Thursdays. So I started setting up Tuesdays and Thursdays full time. And I did Monday, Wednesday, Friday, other places. But Tuesday, Thursdays, I did that for a full month. I made $4,000 selling clothes to students in between gaps. So that was like a defining moment where I realized, okay, I made more money than I've ever made on my own. But I realized, okay, this is just a part of the formula. So that was a defining moment.
Okay.
And then another little side thing is I had teachers come up to me that knew me and were like talking shit. They were like, why are you wasting your time doing this? Like, why are you looking at the clothes in my table and then belittling my vision? So, and I always share that because you're going to have people along the journey that don't believe in your vision. And you have to like recognize how strong that vision has to be, because it's really easy to get discouraged, especially for people that you know. So tier 1. Tier 2 is I started going to SneakerCon, and I remember there was an event, the very first SneakerCon I went as a consumer. I didn't go as a seller. And they put me on about the traffic, the audience, the amount of money they would make. I was just talking to business owners. And I seen kids like the same age as Angel, like 16 years old. So how old is Angel?
Almost 13.
Okay, so like 16 years old though, like 15 years old. These kids are young. I met this kid 16 years old making 10 bands in one weekend. And that shit woke my game up. I said, whoa, like if I'm doing what I'm doing, imagine what I could do if I got even more into it. So that motivated me to start going to SneakerCon.
Okay.
When I was networking, I met this guy named Hector. Shout out to Hector. Owns a brand called Struggle Lifestyle, East LA. Real like East LA homie kind of shit. And he gave me tickets to the bank sale, which is a fashion show / like vendor event, right? So I went the next weekend in LA. Keep in mind, I don't have a job. I dropped out of school. I'm full going on. I'm diving in. I'm driving my Honda Civic all the way to LA, meeting my cousin and staying with him overnight. Like, it was crazy time, right? But I went to the event and they had a workshop where they had business people speak. They had, you won't believe who was speaking. The first one was the owner of a brand called Popular Demand. And his name is Blake. He's the owner of the brand. It's like a multi-million-dollar brand, and Zubies and all this shit. Wow. He was one of the speakers. Guess who the second speaker was? Think of LA hip hop.
Don't tell me Nip.
It was Nipsey Hussle.
Stop!
Nipsey Hussle was one of the speakers at that event. I'll never forget. Because he had Karen Civil was the speaker doing the interview.
Okay.
And this is like early entrepreneurship. I still didn't even have a sense of what I wanted to do. But
and that was before Nip was really as big as
exactly.
Obviously.
And I have a video on my Instagram story. I'll send it to you so you can like put it on the video. But he's speaking and he's talking about, how you have to keep being re-inspired, reading books, and just talking about things you wouldn't traditionally see from like a hip hop artist. And obviously now people know that, but at the time it was just super different. But that ticket to get in the workshop was about $400. At the time, it was like a little bit too much for me. Yeah. So I was at this time where I was willing to take risks like a motherfucker, like sneak into places. Finesse. Right. So I went to the area. There was a lot of security there. They had a little bar. I went to the bar, got a little drink, and then once there was like a little commotion over there, I did a little 360 spin and wiggled my way in. And I saw these two gentlemen that were sitting like in the middle. Yeah. I was like, hey, y'all mind if I sit next to you? I'm not supposed to be here, but if y'all let me sit, I'll let us sit y'all.
You're like, I'm going to be honest.
And to this day, I'm still connected with those guys. Like I'm on Instagram and Snapchat. So they let me sit with them, and the rest is history. So what I'm getting at is like, even though it wasn't an economical opportunity, it was an opportunity to be inspired on a whole other level. Because I feel like when you're not leaving your region and you're not seeing other things, you're kind of capping yourself.
I try to tell everybody that, like, you have to get out. Yeah, you don't have to stay out. You can always come back home, but you got to get out and see what's out there because you never know what you'll learn.
So that was super big, really inspirational. And that was a really big defining moment as far as like motivation and like knowing what I wanted to do from here on out.
Okay.
So I'm reading this book right now. It's called Choose Your Enemies Wisely by Patrick Bet-David. Okay. It's kind of similar to like Michael Jordan's The Last Dance documentary.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever seen it before.
I did, yeah, okay. Netflix, right?
So I don't know if you remember the part where he talks about how he has to make up situations to be pissed off at people to compete against them. So it's very similar, except it's like you knowing exactly who motivates you, right?
Yeah.
Kind of being selective with like your enemy. Like, all right, they're not like, you don't wish no harm on anyone, but it's like what that itch, what that driven moment gave you, like you want to always remind yourself of that so you keep getting motivated. So there was this moment where that same guy, Blake, from Popular Demand, he put on Instagram, this is like years later. This is like 2019. So I'm fast forwarding that. 2019, 2020. No, 2020. So this is like later now where people are starting to do events and stuff. We already did 7 Culture Night Markets at the time. People are telling me, Brandon, you're doing such amazing stuff. Culture Night Market, wow, you have seen so many people. Like everyone's boasting my head, like telling me how amazing it is, right? So I'm going to LA to just like network and, be out there and stuff like that. And I remember Blake put on Instagram, like, hey, I'm meeting with people. If you guys want to talk business, here's an opportunity to sit down with me and like network. So I said, boom, let me shoot him a DM. He agreed to meet with me. I met him in Hollywood and we sat down at a Starbucks and we talked for about an hour. God. So crazy story is that he gave me a lot of great insight, gave me some game about media, gave me some game about other people doing events. And like, I started asking him like what I'm currently doing and like getting his feedback.
Right.
And I'll never forget this moment because it was a testament to that book because in that moment, he really shit on everything I said. And he was really like, and like I said, I know what it meant now. Like I have no disregard or, any resentment towards him. Like I understand what he was doing in that moment. Not in that moment, but now, saying in that moment was kind of hurtful. Back. It kind of hurt my feelings and shit. I was low-key going to drop a G tier like, bro, this motherfucker, I look up to you, bro. You talking hella shit. But anyways, like he was saying like, I was a wannabe entrepreneur. He was saying, you're like the guy that goes to the gym that has all the Nike gear, but don't know how to work out. And he was saying like, oh, what you're doing right now, you might as well just give up because you're not going to get to X, Y,
Z. Was he doing that intentionally to get you feel
Well, I think he was, he was doing it intentionally because he recognized that, like, when I was getting a little ahead of myself as far as where I was at, and he was looking at the numbers of what I was producing and being like, this isn't sustainable.
It's not
sustainable. So in that moment, obviously, I was kind of conflicted because of what he was saying, but I recognized that in that moment, when I came back home, it brought so much fire in me. Like, I was like, bro, what I'm doing right now is not good enough at all. Like, I didn't accept it. But keep in mind, though, everyone back home is saying, bro, you doing this, you doing that. So, like, it was a little bit of, like, discipline to, like, not listen to those voices, good or bad, and just be, like, focused. So, after that year, we locked in PayPal, we did Oak Ridge, we did West Bank, we did San Jose Jazz. Like, we took shit to a whole nother level.
And may I ask, because I'm making an assumption, but when you started making these bigger steps, bigger choices, I'm guessing your sphere of influence also started changing and growing so that there were more people who would challenge rather than just, you're the best around you?
I would view myself as a leader, and I always like to challenge people around me. Like, and even people that traditionally might not even be entrepreneurial. Like, if they have some type of willpower that they want to be better and be the best version of themselves, that's already enough for me to want to build with you. And I feel like, sure, you want someone that's very talented, someone that's exceptionally gifted, but we're not always blessed enough to have people like that around us. But if you have people that are willing, that's enough for me to be like, I can build with you. So I think to answer your question, like, Sure, my environment changed a little bit as far as who I was working with, and I wanted to work with more go-getters.
Yeah.
But for the ones that were building with me, like I didn't really have the luxury to pick and choose. Like I literally had the community as far as people that like I barely met a year ago, and they're like want to build with me like full time. Like those are the type of people that I got to work with, like Paco, Blanco, E, Leo, Devin. I had the luxury of working with Angie. I had the luxury of working with I'm losing my train of thought. When you start naming people.
Yeah, name dropper though. So many.
Obviously, a lot of people played a big role in this journey. Patron, Andy, Brian. Like these are all people that played some type of role.
He's ready for the award show.
Well, it's just like I gotta give credit to everyone because everyone played a role in the event community because it was a community, So to answer your question, yeah, it changed a little bit, but at the end of the day, all I cared about is people's willingness to want to be better and do good. So that was enough for me.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Hands big.
Yeah, if you ain't hearing Bad Bunny when you're out and about, you're not in San Jose. You're in something.
You know what? That's so true, though.
You're gonna hear Bad Bunny. You're gonna hear Anuel. You're gonna hear Nicky Jam, Ozuna, somebody. Osa Pluma, Junior H.
Okay, so talk to me about. You kind of mentioned like a challenge just in the conversation and that more internal conflict that gave you fire, but was there any like big losses that you've experienced or other challenges along the way?
Oh, for sure. I've been short on rent. I've been in debt. I've had my life threatened. I've been robbed. I've been,
Like you name it.
I think, I've dealt with anxiety, stress, and challenges with my personal life and balancing. There's been, honestly, entrepreneurship is not for the weak. Like you're going to go through so many different challenges. But at the end of the day, I think it's just how you respond to them. And like, you have to remind yourself why you're even doing this type of shit.
Yeah.
To answer your question, I've been through a lot of different things. But if I were to give you one though, there was a time where I was living on the south side and we had just moved out. It's been 2 years. Rent's expensive. We're spending like, well over $3,000. And it was a lot of money, And I was doing events. I'm in a business where like, if I'm not producing, I can't make money. I can't pay rent. And I remember one time, this negligent-ass apartment complex, I will not give them credit. I will not give them any names because they don't deserve it. But they put me in such a predicament where I had to make $7,000 in a week notice. And it was one of the craziest kind of challenges I've had to deal with because sometimes I know when I'm getting paid and sometimes I don't, right? So I knew I could only afford to pay a portion.
Right.
But they were threatening on eviction. And they were saying like,
In a week.
And I quickly found out later that, I gave them a check and they didn't deposit it to like 50 days out and like some bullshit. And, checks and balances and all that other shit. That's a different conversation. But the point is, though, is that they were negligent. And I had proof of it because I went to the banks and found the shit out. But in the moment, they're like, you got to figure it out. So I went my ass off to go hustle and sell merch, kind of converted an event and did some things for sponsors. Basically, my back was against the wall and I had to
But you made it happen?
And I made it happen. Like, it was one of those things where you're like, you dive across the finish line, you barely made it through. But what it taught me, though, is you have to treat every situation like as if your back is against the wall because you can't get complacent.
There's so much more in you.
Because you get complacent when you're doing good. And, I've been there. I've done good and I've made some success and I started slowing down, take my foot off the pedal. And I think my trip recently in Florida kind of reminded me that I can't slow down. Can't get comfortable. I don't care how big of a break.
Enjoy your life, but don't get comfortable.
Enjoy your life. Enjoy your wins. Enjoy your wins. Accept your losses. Take them both equally. But don't dwell. Because I think
either way,
that was a major factor. That was like a long time ago. This shit happened like 3 years ago, to be honest.
But it's lessons.
But it's been something that I've learned from, and I've always been playing cautiously with finances as far as like expenses and managing the business, and then also managing business expenses. It's always been a challenge because we're still learning, and I'm still growing to this day. Now I outsource to Annie and Aisa. She's helping me out and shit. So it's there's a lot of challenges with running the business, and you have to figure out where your weaknesses are so people can kind of fill in those other gaps,
Yes. And I love that because I feel like in the time I've known you, I've seen how you not just lead teams, but how you build leaders within your teams. Because people, when I'm tabling a culture night market myself, I don't necessarily have to come to you. I
Yeah.
could talk to anyone on your team, and I know they have that confidence. They feel
Yeah.
empowered to be able to make
Yeah.
decisions and
Yeah.
guide the way for other people that
Yeah.
are taking part.
Mhm.
That's beautiful.
That's the goal, you know, want people
That's
to be
beautiful.
their own individual at the end of the day. Like I tell my team more recently, like, first, let's talk about what you want to do. What are your goals? Like, let's identify what you're even trying to do so
Yeah.
we don't waste each other's time, because I want to help you become successful. And if working with me can get you somewhat closer, then let's figure that out.
Right.
And then that becomes a mutual agreement. And then from there, it's like, now we're just working towards getting there, you know?
Right.
And I think that's the challenge with some leaders, is that they don't even take that extra step
Yeah.
of like learning about who they're working with,
Exactly.
because
That's a
it
big
becomes
issue.
transactional where you're like, hey, do this, do that, and peace. I don't do business like that. I do business the way I treat people. Like,
Relationships.
it's how you treat people is a reflection of how you do business. So I feel like if you treat people like shit, there's a likelihood you're going to treat your business partners like shit.
Yeah.
That's just
true.
the unfortunate truth.
That's true.
So I value good principles. I value good values.
Good
And I think at the end of the day, when you do your own business, you have the choice to work with who you want to work with. Like, I've turned down opportunities because it didn't make sense for me on a spiritual sense. Like,
Right.
your
You
fucking
can
energy is
feel it.
negative.
Yeah.
Like, we're not really productive. Like that. I don't care how much money we can make.
Yeah.
Like, it's all theoretical. Like, sure, you might make me a couple thousand more, but I might feel like shit at the end of it, you know? So
That's not worth it.
I value
worth
my
your
energy, my peace, and we already deal with so much shit. Like, I don't want to make it worse, you know? Like, I can't stand you motherfuckers.
It's true. It's true. Okay, so I know we're kind of coming to an end.
Yeah.
So the last couple of questions I have for you are actually questions that I've asked to every guest
Yeah.
on this series.
Yeah.
And it was a challenge actually from my first guest, Chanson. So
Yeah.
you already started talking about finances a little bit, and that's a piece of it, but not everything. So how do you define wealth?
It's a great question. I think every individual should ask themselves, what does wealth mean to them,
Mm-hmm.
right? Wealth can mean different areas of life, like rich. I feel like rich is a better word, right? Like rich. What areas of life do you want to be rich in, right? Financially, health-wise, personal, family, your foundation.
Ooh.
Like, oh snap, we got another dish. Thank you,
Can
man.
I take a picture?
Yeah,
of
take a
this
picture
one?
of that.
Hold on.
You gotta get a close-up.
Okay, we're almost done though. We're almost
yeah.
there. Okay, we were talking about wealth. If
All
you
right.
have more
Yeah.
to say on it, or
So, all
we're
right.
talking about being rich.
The
more
general answer for wealth is like longevity, right? Legacy and what things money can buy you long term, whether it's real estate, whether it's assets, whatever. That would be the general definition for wealth, I feel. But for me, I look at it as like, what areas of life do I want to be rich in, right? Like I said, personal, my family, my foundation, my loved ones at home, that needs to be rich, because if that area of life is rich for me, then business will be rich for me. And then third is health-wise, like making sure I'm caught up with my health, making sure I'm doing my daily exercises and making good habits to keep that going.
Yeah.
Because entrepreneur is equivalent to an athlete. Like, you have to be working out. You got to be in your best shape, because you can't be doing public speaking for hours and not get tired. You know, you got to be able to go from meeting to meeting, go from location to location, have that same energy and same spirit to close a deal, you know, and handle like put out a fire as a fireman, putting out situations. Like, you got to be ready for the unexpected. So you got to treat your health serious if you want to be
So important.
If you want to be able to move and get things done. So for me, like, that is what matters to me, is like being rich in all areas of life and not just financially.
Yeah.
Because I know plenty of people that got money and they're pretty shitty people.
Yeah.
Like, for me, I want to be a person where, like, you can look rich as fuck, but I barely got like $400 in my bank account. Those are the type of people that I really aspire to be like. Because if you could be happy and you could be able to like just be a free flow like water, like Bruce Lee says, like you just flow like water, then that's where you've kind of reached that, you know, that point of richness. In this case, wealth, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I would say. That's
I like
my
that.
answer.
I want more than $400 in my bank account.
For sure.
you know,
Yeah, we
but-
can at least pay the bills. Yeah, at least get groceries.
It's like,
Groceries nowadays damn near $400. That's not even a full.
not even
run.
right.
We're
Like,
going to
that's for
Costco.
1 week.
Yeah, that's 1 week.
Oh my gosh. No, but I like that, especially the health piece, because obviously, you know me, like, health is wealth in my space, and like, my whole mission right now is to live well, figure out what that means in my own life and lifestyle, and then help others to do it too.
Yeah.
Whether it's through real estate, yoga, health
Yeah.
plans in general, whatever that looks like.
Yeah.
But that makes me ask then, for folks who are on this journey, just, hey, I want to be wealthy, I want to be healthy, I want to create an impact, which is what I hear from a lot of folks and new entrepreneurs. What would you say is the number one tip for someone that is struggling to build wealth but wants to make that impact?
I would say reassess what you want, like figure out what it is that you want to do. Because the last thing you want to do is build on a foundation that isn't sturdy. Like you want to know exactly what you're building on. Yeah. And the first step is knowing yourself, who you are, figure out who you are to yourself, figure out who you think you are to the public eye, and then figure out who you think you are to the public eye. Like really ask yourself those hard questions, figure out your identity, because a lot of the times we lose our identity in this process. And like, by the time you get some progress and you start becoming this new person, you start realizing this isn't who you are. So you have to really reassess and audit yourself. Second thing would be like, write your goals down, write them on a wall where you can see them and remind yourself daily of what it is. And then the third one would be take action. I mean, that's the simplest thing I could say because once you know exactly what it is, then it's easy for you to know and go chase it. Like the freaking lion's chasing the gazelle. He knows exactly what he wants, bro. He's gonna eat that gazelle. He ain't think about nothing else. Like you got to be on that same hype. Yeah, ET on my ET shit. So that's what I would say about that.
Okay, I love it. Well, you've heard from the culture king of San Jose, which I love. There's lots of events coming up too. This episode probably won't come out until like late October, but is there anything that you want folks to know about, to meet you at? How can people hit you up?
Well, if it's in mid-October, hopefully it's before the golf tournament. A golf tournament coming up, Silicon Valley Classic in partnership with Mike Lee at Social Sphere and Feast Mode and EMLN Exclusive and Peter Ortiz and the Rancho La Puebla Golf Course. October 13, 2 to 8, free event. And then there's a paid event version for golfers. And then this hasn't been announced yet, so I'm hoping that when this comes out, it happens, you know what I mean? So I'm in the works of working with the folks for Christmas in the Park for Christmas time period. So there's a lot of activations happening in that area. I've been trying to be involved with that group for years. It's been an ongoing attempt, but I think I finally have an idea that might actually stick. So we're looking at November 29th to December 8th. It'll be 2 weekends. It'll be Friday through Sunday. So it'll be like a gift night market mixed with like live band. So it'll be like 20 vendors or so, and we'll have a light activation with some Christmas installations and stuff. This will be in partnership with Winter Wonderland and Christmas in the Park and Downtown Association. All different entities doing their own part of this extravaganza for Christmas. But I'm really excited about that. Very proud of that because like I said, I've been working towards that for years and finally got a little progress. So by the time this drops, I hope I see y'all there, and the promo's already out and everything. So y'all can come out, you know what I mean?
Oh, I'm excited. Thank you, BQ, for sharing pieces of your story with us. I know there's so much more, but you've dropped a lot of gems. I'm excited to put this out there, and y'all need to get to these events. You need to get to know BQ. Don't be afraid to say hi. He was really nice when I first met him, and I'm pretty sure he'll welcome you as well.
For sure, First and foremost, thank you again for inviting me. The Taco Bout It, you know what I mean? I had a great taco. I'm going to save this one for my lady. And also follow us on Instagram at EMLN Exclusive, Culture Night Market, one word. And my page is Yo Soy BQ. You can follow me directly. And I think that's it.
Yeah, my last thing is I just want to give a huge shout out to the venue hosting us tonight.
Big shout out.
Please forgive my Spanish, but La Mascarita has been amazing.
Great.
So delicious, amazing service, and this atmosphere. I don't know if y'all can see it in the video. If you're watching audio, you'll have to go check out the video. But it's just absolutely beautiful. And we didn't even go inside for the entertainment, but they have entertainment as well.
Yeah, so. Deadpool turfing in there. He was like
literally going off.
No,
so please come support this amazing venue. Truly, no lie, this food is fantastic. You will not be disappointed.
100.
Especially seafood lovers.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, that's a wrap.
Peace.
Thanks for tuning in to the Here to Uplift podcast. I hope you're finishing this episode feeling inspired and ready to take action. We want to keep the stories and inspiration coming, so please take a moment to like, subscribe, and share this podcast with a friend. We really appreciate it. Welcome to the Uplift community, friend. Please join us for another episode soon.